Welcome back. Tomorrow, the Senate will hold its first procedural vote on the Keystone XL pipeline. The House has already passed legislation approving the construction, but the president is threatening a veto if it reaches his desk. Joining us now is Republican Senator Jerry Moran of Kansas. He's a member of the Senate Commerce, Banking, and Appropriations Committees. Senator, good to have you on the program. Welcome.
Maria, good morning. Good morning from Manhattan, Kansas, the Little Apple.
What are you expecting from the procedural vote tomorrow?
You know, I think every expectation is that there are sufficient votes. That number is 60 votes to proceed, to have the debate, ultimately the vote. You know, I'm a first-term United States Senator, been there 4 years. This will be one of the few times that I'm going to see how the legislative process is supposed to work in the Senate, because what we expect after that procedural vote is hours of debate, amendments being offered, every member of the United States Senate having the opportunity to offer an amendment, we hope related to the topic of energy, but that may not always be the case. And that's the way the Senate should have operated in the first 4 years that I've been a senator. Give everybody the chance to make their case. And, you know, I think part of this will help reduce the partisanship of the United States Senate. If you get the opportunity to argue your cause, you get the chance to ask your colleagues to vote yes or no. That vote occurs, the debate occurs, and whether you win or not, I guess you prefer to win, but the idea that you get to make the case for the things you believe in very well may allow this Senate to work better into the future for the next couple of years.
You know, we've talked a lot about the job creation that this Keystone pipeline would mean. But let me ask you if anything has changed given the market out there. Oil prices down 50% in the last year. Does the urgency become less?
I say the urgency is more, and I would say that because the evidence is a reason that the prices of gasoline are lower at the pump is because the supply has been increased. And if we can do more to increase the supply, that is a good thing for the consumer as they fill up their tanks. But I also would say when we talk about jobs created by the pipeline, we often talk about the construction, work in refineries in the United States. But lower energy prices here in the United States mean a return to more manufacturing jobs here in this country. We can compete in a global economy with lower prices of energy, which is a significant component of the cost structure of manufacturing. So that's a positive. And I know your program has had a lot of emphasis on terrorism today. What a great development when energy prices are lower. We often think of this as moving toward energy independence in the United States. We think of that as a national security issue because we are not dependent upon foreign oil coming from the Middle East, which is in such turmoil. But also think about less revenues going to terrorists and those who fund terrorists from oil profits, the lower the price is. If we can take care of ourselves, we can improve our economy. We also can reduce the money that flows to terrorists around the globe.
It's a very important point, given the fact that lower oil prices completely changes our relationship with some of the oil-producing countries around the world. Let me ask you about the state of business today and what Congress can really do if, in fact, the president vetoes this.
Well, again, this is a unique experience for my time in the Senate. One would think this would be something normal, but sending a bill to the president has been pretty rare. It is an indication, I think, in this instance of lack of leadership on President Obama's part. One would have thought that in the long time that this issue has been pending, years, the president could have made a decision, yes or no, but it always seemed as if he had some excuse, most recently Nebraska, and that excuse is now gone, not to make a decision. And so the president has operated on this issue and many others the way the United States Senate operated for the last 4 years is it'd be politically safer not to decide anything. Now we're going to make a decision, and it's a shame that it takes the Congress to force the president to make a decision that he should have made a long time ago. If the president vetoes the bill, I mean, one, we'll have to see what shape, how the votes turn out when the bill is finally passed and sent to the president. But it takes, 67 votes to override, 66 votes to override the president's veto. And we need to see if the votes are there based upon what amendments are offered to the bill, whether there's broad support in the United States Senate. And then secondly, I suppose if the votes are not there to override, and let me have one more caveat, I don't think we ought to make decisions in the United States Senate about doing our legislative work based upon whether or not we expect the president to veto a bill. We ought to do our job. And if the president decides to veto or to sign a bill, that's his job. But our agenda in the United States Senate should not be based upon a fear that the president might veto a bill. So we ought to do this. We ought to see how many votes we have. If we're unsuccessful in being able to override the veto, then this is a piece of legislation that can be attached to other pieces of legislation, perhaps that the president would be less likely to veto.
And he can't veto everything if he's concerned about his legacy, I assume.
Well, one would think that, and what I'm thinking of appropriation bills. We're finally going to do a budget, and presumably 12 appropriation bills follow that. These are issues that can be attached to appropriation bills, which again, it puts the president in the position of being the one who is, quote, shutting down government, as compared to this kind of allegation that's been around about Republicans in the Congress.
Senator, good to have you on the program. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
We'll be watching this week. The Detroit Auto Show, meanwhile, beginning on Tuesday. What kind of new technology are we expected to see there? Could these new vehicles save you more money next time you've got to fill up that tank? We'll talk with the chairman and CEO of one of the largest automakers in the world as we look ahead on Sunday Morning Futures.